How do I get clients without selling? And here's my answer. And I want to give it to you straight right now before I explain anything else. You get clients by being useful to people before they need you, so that when they finally do need you, you're the only name that they're searching for. I'm Sylvia Garibaldi, founder and CEO of a well-established marketing training and done-for-you services company, tailored specifically for the modern legal and financial professional worldwide. While it's taken some trial and error to figure out which methods get the best results for professionals who are looking to grow their practices, fast forward to today, my team and I have nailed down and perfected a process that has helped so many of our clients consistently achieve outstanding results and create a legacy for their practices. I created the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast to give you simple, actionable, non-salesy, and results-driven marketing to grow your legal or financial practice like so many of our clients have. If you're a lawyer, mediator, financial, or divorce professional who is looking to become highly visible and wants to create a practice that makes an impact, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 132 of the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast. I'm your host, Sylvia Garibaldi. And if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast by hitting the follow or subscribe button so that you don't miss future episodes packed with actionable strategies to grow your practice. So here's how this episode came together. I actually didn't send out a survey and I didn't ask people what they were struggling with because when you ask people that, they usually give you a tamed or polite answer. They tell you what they'd like to be more consistent with. Maybe it's with their content, but that's not what's actually keeping them up. So instead, I went and looked at what people in this profession are actually searching for, what they type in when they think nobody can see them. So it's a completely different list because it's not tactics. It's not what should I post on Tuesday. It's more stuff like, am I doing this all wrong? Or did I miss something everyone else has learned? Is it too late for me? And so what I did is I pulled the top 10 questions, and I'm going to answer every single one of them today. Now, just a quick word about who this is for. If you're a lawyer, this is definitely for you. If you're a mediator, this is for you. If you're an arbitrator, this works for you as well. If you're a financial professional or a divorce professional, this is very much for you. I'd say you might feel this one the hardest because so much of your work walks in the door through somebody else. So different training, different letters after your name, but same 10 questions. And I know that because I've been doing this for a very long time, and I have heard every single one of these questions from every one of those different industry streams I just highlighted. And here's how I'm going to run this. 10 questions. I'm going to answer each one straight in a sentence right up front. Then I'll tell you exactly why. And some of these answers are going to be shorter than you expect. Some of them might be a little bit longer, and that's okay. I'm actually saving one for the very end, and it's going to be the 10th question. And honestly, it's the one almost nobody in your profession is asking yet, but people who figure it out in the next year or so are going to be the ones everyone else is trying to catch up to. So stay with me for that one. All right, let's start with the big one. Question 1. How do I get clients without selling? And here's my answer. And I want to give it to you straight right now before I explain anything else. You get clients by being useful to people before they need you, so that when they finally do need you, you're the only name that they're searching for. And that's it. But let me tell you why this question comes up so much, because it's the most searched one on the list. So it's important for me to highlight this. And I'll also be very candid with you to say that nobody really teaches you this, right? Think about it for a second. Law school didn't teach you how to get clients. Your mediation training probably didn't either. Your CDFA program didn't. Nobody sat you down and said, okay, now here's how people are going to find you exist. They taught you the work, they handed you a certificate, and basically said, good luck. So I want you to really bear in mind that you're not bad at this. It's just that it's not something that is taught openly. And those are two completely different things. And I need you to hear the difference because a lot of you have been quietly beating yourselves up over something that you were never shown how to do. And now here's where I think people do get stuck. Somewhere along the way, we all picked up this idea that there are only two options. Option one, you're the loud one. You're the person running the ads with the aggressive slogan. You're posting things that make you cringe a little bit. You're the pushy one at the networking event handing out cards. And then there's option two. You keep your head down, you do excellent work, and you hope somebody notices. And almost everybody in this profession has looked at those two options and picked option two most times. And I get it because option one feels very uncomfortable. It feels like it doesn't belong anywhere near the work that you do. And honestly, a lot of the time it doesn't. But here's the problem. Option two isn't humble. Option two is just being invisible. And being invisible doesn't pay anyone's rent. So let me offer you a third option. And this is the one that most people don't talk about. Selling is not convincing. Nobody in this profession has ever talked a person into getting a divorce. That's just not how any of this works. You're not persuading anyone into anything. Selling in your world is really just two things, being findable and being useful. And that's the order, findable, then useful. And most people in this profession are neither. And it's not because you're not doing it right or you're feeling lazy. It's because you're waiting. You're waiting to be discovered, waiting for someone to notice your good work. So what does useful actually look like? Well, let me make this real for you. So if you're a family lawyer, for example, useful is explaining what actually happens step by step because the person on the other end has no idea. They're terrified. They think they're going to end up in a courtroom on a witness stand like something out of a movie. So you explaining things calmly and what the process really looks like is super important. It's going to be useful and it's not a pitch. And that to me is kindness because you are teaching them something that is keeping them up at night. And that's the reason that they actually call you. So for example, if you're a mediator, useful is telling people that mediation is even an option. I know that sounds very simple, but you'd be surprised at how many people going through separation or maybe in the workforce don't even know that mediation exists. They think there is one road and it goes through the courthouse and it's going to cost them everything. Just telling them that there's another way, believe it or not, is actually very useful, and explaining to them when is the best scenarios to use mediation or arbitration. If you're a financial professional, useful is telling somebody the thing that they don't know how to ask. So for example, during a divorce, that the house that they're fighting to keep might quietly bankrupt them in 3 years. That splitting a retirement account isn't as simple as cutting it in half. So these are things that most people don't really know. So it's really all about serving first. You are not selling and you are not convincing. You're just genuinely being useful out loud in public to people who really need your help. All right, let's move on to question number 2. And I want you to notice something before I even read it. This is a question people type into a search bar. It's not a question people say to another human being. And here it is. How do I market divorce work without feeling like I'm profiting from someone's worst day? And same thing goes for a CDFA, a divorce coach. Somebody in your profession sat down and typed that out. Probably more than one, okay? Because it's coming up in the search. And I'd bet pretty good money that it's crossed your mind as well, one way or another. And so here's my answer. You are not profiting from someone's worst day. You are helping them to shorten it. You are helping them to shorten their worst day, to get them over to the other side. So I want you to sit with this for a minute. You know the block. You know the post that you didn't write, the newsletter that you started and then deleted. maybe the website that you didn't update for a long time now, and you probably tell yourself it's the same thing. I'm so busy, I'll get to it later. And it's usually not a timing thing. It's this. There's probably a quiet voice that says, there's something a little unseemly about advertising myself to people in the worst moment of their lives. Whether you're a divorce attorney, a divorce mediator, a certified divorce financial analyst, whether you are a divorce coach, a realtor that specializes in divorce, and if that's you, I want to say something. That feeling, that's not a flaw. That's your conscious working properly. But I need you to follow that feeling all the way through to where it actually lands, because I don't think that that's really the case. And here's what I mean. The person is getting divorced whether you market or not, right? Whether you put out a social media post or whether you sponsor an event for divorcing families, that person has chosen, or whether they have no other choice. So you're not creating the divorce. You're not causing it. You didn't put the idea in anybody's head. So simply, nothing that you post or do or market is really forcing someone to take that action. So the question was never, should this be happening? It is happening. That's reality. This is life. The only real question is, who do they find first, right? From a marketing perspective, because they are looking right now, tonight. Somebody's sitting up in the dark with their phone, typing something that maybe they don't feel very comfortable doing. And they're going to find somebody. And if you're quiet, they won't find you. They find whoever's the loudest. They find the biggest ad budget. They find the most aggressive one. They find the firm that promises to destroy the other side, or whatever the case may be. So here's the part I really want you to hear. Staying quiet is not neutral. I know it feels neutral. It feels like the polite choice. It feels like the respectful thing to do, like you're staying out of it. But your silence just means the wrong person gets the phone call. And think about what you actually do for a living. So if you're a mediator who keeps two people out of a courtroom, if you're a lawyer who explains the process so somebody can finally sleep, right? This is all important work. And I really don't believe it's profiting from someone's worst day, right? Marketing is just how they find out that you're standing there and that you can help them with what they're going through. I want to share something with you that I see come up time and time again. Many professionals I speak to know exactly who they want to attract, but where things break down isn't clarity, it's actually implementation. So they're not sure how to translate that into messaging, how to stay visible, or how to turn that visibility into actual client inquiries. So if this sounds familiar, I created a step-by-step guide to help you work right through this. This free guide walks you through how to define your ideal clients, identify the right referral partners, understand where they're actually looking, including AI, and most importantly, how to turn all of that into consistent action. You can download your free guide at www.sgandassociates.ca/free-guide. Link is also in the show notes. So it's more about information and not fear. So you're allowed to explain how divorce works. You're allowed to teach it. You're allowed to be visible and say, here's what the process actually looks like. Here's what people get wrong. And here's what I wish everyone knew before they started. Plain and simple. So please write that post, maybe start that podcast, let them find you and give them the information that they need to get to the other side. Okay, question number 3. Why did my referrals dry up? So this is what you type after a quiet month, and then another quiet month, and then the knot in your stomach gets tighter, right? Here's the answer nobody gives you. Your referrals probably didn't dry up. They stopped converting because a referral isn't a decision anymore. It's a suggestion. So I want you to picture this. A lawyer tells her client that you should call Sylvia. She's great at what she does. The client writes it down, and then the client goes home and looks me up. Every single time, not sometimes, but every single time, that's the first thing they're going to do. Because there's money on the line, there's kids on the line, and a name on a sticky note isn't really enough to make that call, right? And they don't just look you up. They look up 2 other people, 3 other people, because nobody takes the first name that they get handed anymore. They start comparing. So that warm personal referral that you were so proud of, It just became a short list, and you're one of 3 or one of 5. You didn't know you were in a competition, but you actually are. Now, say they find a website that maybe you last updated in 2019, or maybe your LinkedIn page where the most recent thing is a conference photo of you from 3 years ago. Or they search your name and find, oh, there isn't much here. Meanwhile, the other 2 are there. They are writing, they are explaining things. They look like someone actively doing this work today. Who do you think is going to get the call? You know the answer. So nobody emails to say that they looked you up and went with someone else. The lawyer thinks she referred you, and as far as she knows, she did her job, but you never got the call. So you sit there thinking that your referrals dried up. They were arriving the whole time. They're just kind of like shriveling up and dying in the parking lot quietly, one by one, and you didn't even know it. So the referral, yes, gets you in the room, but what's online decides whether they actually even approach you. And so those are 2 different jobs. Most people in this profession have only ever done the first one. And no, it's not about posting more. When someone looks you up, they're not just checking your credentials. Your credentials are why you were actually referred in the first place. So that part's already done. They're actually looking for proof that you're real, that you're current, that you get their situation, that you're really good at what you do, and that's it. Now, can referral sources also just forget you exist? Of course, you get busy. You went quiet. 8 months later, you're not seeing any referrals coming in. But notice the fix is the same either way, and that is being visible. Be visible to the people who refer you so that they remember you, and online to the people who are actually looking you up. Same effort, 2 payoffs. Question number 4, how do I get referrals from divorce lawyers? This one's for everyone who doesn't get the first phone call, okay? Could be the CDFA, could be the divorce coach, could be the financial advisor. The mediators building a new practice, it could be them, it could be the parenting coordinators. Anybody whose clients arrive because somebody else sent them. So you already know who they are because you've had coffee with them, you've exchanged emails. So here's the answer to the question. Stop asking lawyers to refer to you. Start making them look good to their own clients. Because here's what most people do. You get 20 minutes with a lawyer and you spend it explaining what you do, your designation, your process, how you're different. And then at the end, the ask is, so if you ever have a client who needs someone like me, and the lawyer smiles and of course says, of course, and nothing ever happens. Nothing happens because you ask them for a favor and they don't owe you anything. Lawyers don't refer out of kindness, right? They're not doing charity work. They refer for exactly 2 reasons. A, it makes their life easier, or it makes them look good in front of their own client. And that's it. They know that you're going to add value, and that's what makes them, the lawyer, look good in front of their client because they trust you. They understand that you're an expert and you can actually help their client. I hope that makes sense. So walk in with something they can use this week. For example, give them a 1-pager that they can hand to a client who's panicking about the house, or give them something that nobody else is offering. Offer to take the call that they don't want to take. The one where the client is falling apart and is eating an hour of billable time that they're never going to get back. So that's really what you need to do. You just need to take something off their desk. And now you're not a favor anymore. You're actually useful. And then I think here's the part a lot of people skip is be ruthlessly specific about who you take. Because here's what happens when you're vague. A lawyer has a client sitting in front of them. She's thinking, who do I send this to? And then she remembers you. Sort of. Nice person, does something with divorce. She's not going to risk it. She's not putting her reputation behind a guess. So she sends it to the person that she can describe in 1 sentence, okay? Let that sit with you for a moment. Vague professionals do not get referred. Not because people don't like you, but simply because nobody knows what to say about you. So make it easy. Hand them the sentence. For example, I work with women over 50 who are scared of outliving their settlement, or I work with parents who can't be in the same room yet. And so when somebody does send you work, close the loop. Tell them what happened. Many people don't do this. A referral into a black hole does not get repeated. A referral that comes back with a thank you and an outcome, that becomes a habit. Make sense? All right, question number 5. How do I ask for a referral without being pushy? So here's my answer. You don't ask. You make it so easy to describe what you do that referring you costs the other person nothing. Okay, so before I explain that, I want you to look at the word pushy for a second because there's a lot buried in it. You're afraid of being pushy, okay, but pushy compared to what? You're not selling anybody a timeshare. You're not interrupting anyone's dinner. You're a professional who helps people through one of the most difficult things that will ever happen to them. So, why does it feel so bad? Here's what I think is actually going on. Pushiness isn't a personality problem, it's a clarity problem. You feel pushy when you're asking someone to take a risk on your behalf. So, think about it. When you say send me clients, what are you really asking? You're asking them to put their name on you, to vouch for you, to take their own hard earned relationship with a client and stake a piece of it on you being really good at what you do. And if they're not 100% sure about what you do or who you're right for, then that ask is genuinely uncomfortable, right? For both of you. And you can feel it in the room. You're not imagining the awkwardness and you're not misdiagnosing it. It's not that you asked, it's that you asked them to guess. So here's a quick fix. Don't get better at asking, just get better at being describable. Hand people that sentence, give them that toolkit, literally. Because here's what nobody's really telling you. The people in your ecosystem already want to refer you. That's not the problem. They like you. They think you're really good at what you do. They just don't know how to say what you do. And if you've been listening to this podcast, you've heard me talk about referral partner newsletters as well, like staying top of mind, explaining to people what you do, the cases that you've recently solved, right? So you're closing the loop. So please think about how you can do that. And when I say close the loop, make sure that you're getting back to them to letting them know what was the outcome and what you learned, right, from that situation. And usually the referral partner will feel good about that and want to send you another one. Okay. Now, here's one quick thing, because I know how this goes. If you're nodding along here and you're writing down 2 of these questions or 3 of these questions, and then Monday happens and you get so busy at work, and then this list that I gave you just sits untouched for 6 months. But here's what I want you to notice. These aren't 10 separate problems. It's one problem showing up in 10 places. All right? You've never been able to say what you do in a sentence someone could actually repeat. And everything on that list comes back to that. So good news. If you need help with this is something that we do at SG & Associates. So please feel free to reach out to me for a consultation call. No pressure, no pitch, and we'll help you figure out what is the next best step for you. If you're interested in this consultation call, you can find a link to my calendar in the show notes. Okay, question number 6. What do I say when someone asks what I do? So you're at a dinner party, somebody turns to you and asks, hey, what do you do for a living? And you think, well, what do I say? So here's the answer. Don't say your title. Say the problem you solve and who has it. Because here's what happens when you lead with your title. If you say, I'm a mediator. Now, what does the person do with that information? Honestly, what are they supposed to say back? They nod, they say, oh, interesting. And then there's a pause. And somebody changes the subject. It's not that they're being rude, it's that you've handed them a category and nobody knows what to do with that category. And I think it gets worse the more specialized you are. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. Nobody knows what that is. Or I'm an arbitrator. Half the room thinks that's a courtroom job. Okay? So your title is just filling a label. It's for other professionals. It was never built to be said out loud to a human being who doesn't work in the industry, for example. So here's the structure. It's really 3 parts. I help, and then you insert the type of person or situation with this specific problem at this specific moment. So those are the 3 parts. That's it. Not I help people through difficult transitions. That's not a sentence, and that's not specific enough. So this is what I mean by specific. I help parents who can't be in the same room work out a schedule for their kids while they're going through divorce or separation. Or I help women in their 50s figure out whether they can actually afford to keep the house during divorce. So figure out those three parts and then listen to what just happened when you say it, right? What's their reaction? I think you'll see the whole difference immediately. You'll notice how they get it. They're going to ask you questions because that makes sense. So super, super important to think about that. Okay, so what I want you to actually do with this right now, pause if you need to and write your sentence down. Who, what problem, and what moment. Okay, that's all you need to do. All right, let's move to question number 7. Do I need a niche? And I want to be honest with you about this one because I think most people asking it aren't really asking. They're hoping I'm going to say no. But here's the answer. A niche does not shrink your practice. It makes you the most obvious answer to a specific question. And that's the only way anybody remembers you. Now, let's talk about why you don't want to hear this. The fear is always the same. If I narrow down, Sylvia, I'm going to be turning work away. And when you're worried about the pipeline, when you've had a couple of quiet months, I know that narrowing that can feel insanely scary. It feels like you're walking towards the cliff on purpose. And I get it. I know it's a real fear, but here's what I want you to sit with. You're already turning away work. You're just doing it silently. And you never find out about it because when you're a little bit for everybody, you're not the first name for anybody. Being forgettable is not safe. It just feels safe because you never see what it costs you. Okay, I hope that's making sense. And look, we've been building towards this all episode. You just didn't notice. Question 5 is people can't refer you if they can't describe you. Question 6 was your sentence has to be specific enough that somebody can carry it out of the room. Well, what do you think a niche is? A niche is what lets a lawyer sitting across from a crying client think, oh, this is exactly who she takes. Not, I think she might be able to help. That word is the whole business. So now let me take some pressure off you because people hear niche and they immediately think that they have to give up half their practice. A niche is not just a practice area. It can be who you serve, business owners, parents of teenagers, people over 60. It can be the situation. A niche can be a situation. High conflict is a situation. Long marriages like gray divorce, blended families, those are all situations. It can be the moment, the ones who already tried and it fell apart. So you get more room here than you think. It doesn't have to be the thing on your certificate. And here's the part that will actually let you sleep. Your niche is what you say. It's what you proactively market. You can be known for one thing and still take the file that walks through your door on a Tuesday that may not be part of your niche, but you know that you still serve them well. So proactively marketing means that we're proactively marketing our niche, but reactively, you are accepting people that may not be part of your niche, but you know how to serve them, right? So you're not turning them away. Does that make sense? We proactively market to our niche and we reactively accept maybe a referral that somebody sent or someone that saw you on LinkedIn and you know you can help them with their problem. So that's where I want to go with this, right? Your marketing has a job to get you remembered and referred to your ideal client. All right, question number 8. Do I actually need a website? And I know what you're thinking. You've had the same website, haven't updated it in a long time. You paid someone way too much money to do it. Maybe you forgot the password or you don't know how to do the updates to it if you're a solopreneur. And every year you think, I should really do something about that. And then you don't. So you're hoping I'm going to tell you that it doesn't matter anymore. Here's the answer. Your website will almost never win you a client, but it will absolutely lose you one. Let me explain what I mean here. This is not a nice sentence, but it's the only way to really think about this. Nobody in your profession is getting hired because somebody stumbled onto their homepage and fell in love with it. That's usually not how it works. That's not how any of this typically works. Your website isn't a shop window, it's a checkpoint. Okay, so remember question number 3? Somebody gets your name from a lawyer, they go home, they look you up. This is where they land because when they Google you, your website comes up through the SEO. And this is how they then get to your website. Yes, I know there's SEO and that really good search engine optimization, where you will spend a lot of money to try to be found through SEO and doesn't always work that way. Unfortunately, SEO is changing with AI in the picture. SEO is no longer functioning like it used to. So here's my point. Your website needs to come up through the search. So if somebody gives a referral to you, you want your name, when they Google your name, that your website pops up as an option, right? So the question isn't, does my website bring me business? I think the question should be, does my website survive being checked? Completely different question. And I think a much scarier one too. So what are they actually looking for? They're not reading your bio. They're not counting your credentials. They already know you're qualified. That's why they got sent to you. They're looking for three things, and they're doing it in about 40 seconds. One is this for me? Can they tell immediately that you help people like them? Not families in transition, but them specifically, the specific mess that they're in right now. And if they have to hunt for that, they're gone. They don't feel bad about it. They just close the tab. The second thing they look for, is this person a human being? Because here's what they're actually scared of. They're scared of getting chewed up. They're scared of sitting across someone who sells a very technical service, who makes them feel stupid or unheard. They're looking at your photo. They're looking at how you write. They're looking at how to figure out if you're going to be kind to them, if you're the right person to do the job. So that's super important. Number three is, what happens next? Can they see right now exactly how to take one step, one button, one number, one sentence telling them what needs to happen to reach out to them? Because they are terrified in that first phone call. And if that's not obvious, they will put it off. And putting off means you've lost them forever. They're moving on to the next. And here's what doesn't matter, since I know some of you are still going to reach for it. Your credentials stacking up above the fold, nobody really cares about that. Or that photo of a gavel, the word solutions, none of that is doing anything for you. So the last thing, which is really the whole reason we're going to end this episode, where we're going to end it, is your website has a second reader now. Let that set in for a moment. And it isn't a person. Guess what? It's a machine. And we're going to get to that, but hold that thought, because it changes what having a website even means. Okay. Question number 9, is LinkedIn worth my time? And I want to say up front, this is the question I get a lot of skepticism on, especially lawyers. There's usually an eye roll. Does it really work? I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to post about my morning routine. I'm a serious professional. And good, because neither do I. And if you go onto my posts, you will see that I don't do any of that morning routine stuff. That's not what this is about. So here's the answer. LinkedIn is a powerhouse. And I think that's where everybody gets it wrong, is they may be measuring it against the wrong thing. So you post for a month, you get 12 likes and no phone calls, and then you conclude this doesn't work. But look at what you're expecting. You're expecting somebody to read your post and hire you. And that doesn't happen just once. It just doesn't work that way. It has to be consistently done. So nobody's going to see a post once about parenting schedules and then pick up the phone and call you. So here's what's important to understand. There are, 150 people who could send you work? 200 maybe? Lawyers, mediators, accountants, therapists, former clients, people you went to school with. Every one of them is a door. And right now, most of those doors have forgotten you exist. And so we talked about that in question number 3. LinkedIn is the cheapest way ever invented to stay in front of those hundreds or thousands of people without having hundreds or thousands of coffees, right? That's it. That's the entire value. You're not fishing for strangers. When you are posting, when you are active online, you are being visible in front of the people who can actually afford your services or who can refer to you. Yes, the algorithm changes and there are different things happening on LinkedIn, but there are so many powerful ways that LinkedIn can help you find new business and also bring in those referral partners. And you don't need a lot of volume for this to happen, right? You don't need to have thousands and thousands of people in your network, and you don't need to be posting 5 or 6 times a week. It just doesn't work that way. So it's finding the right tools on LinkedIn to be leveraged to help you get in front of the right people with the right message and the right consistency. Okay, I hope that's making sense. Okay, question number 10, and this one's different. The first 9 questions, people are searching for those right now. Thousands of them every single month. People like you listening to this podcast are searching for those questions and looking for answers. So here's the one that most of you may not be asking, and that is, how do I get my practice to show up when someone asks AI? And here's the answer. Your next client is asking ChatGPT, maybe Gemini, maybe Claude, who to hire. And if your name isn't in that answer, you were never in the running. So let me tell you what's actually changed, because I think people have half noticed this and haven't done the math on it. You know how search used to work. You typed your name in, you got 10 blue links, and you decided. You clicked around, you compared, you made up your own mind, and that was it. It was over, right? Now somebody's typing in, what should I do about my divorce if I don't want to go to court? And they don't get 10 links. They get an answer. They get it in a paragraph, written like advice from something that sounds calm and neutral and like it has no agenda. And sometimes that answer has names in it, 3 of them maybe. So think about what that means. You are either one of the 3, or maybe you don't exist at all. And there's no page 2 anymore, right? They're not scrolling down and finding you at number 7. And there's no, well, at least I'm in the mix, right? Because you're not. There is no mix. AI just tells us who are the top picks. And if you're the answer, then you'll be part of the conversation. But if you're not in that AI answer, you can't be part of the conversation. And let me tell you this is something that we do for a lot of our clients. We are helping a lot of our clients be found in AI. And there's a way to do this. And if this is you and you're struggling to figure out how to be found in AI, then I suggest you book a call with us so we can help you figure out the best way to do that. And a link for that can be found in the show notes. So here's the part I really want you to hear, and it's the part that should get you out of your chair. You really cannot buy your way in. There's no ad slot inside of an AI answer. Think about that. You can't outspend anybody. The firm down the street with the huge marketing budget and the billboards, none of that helps them get there, not one bit. So for so many years, marketing in your profession has almost gone to whoever spent the most, right? In ads, for example. And this is the first channel where that's changing. So, which means for the first time in a very long time, the field is kind of level, and maybe a solo mediator in Toronto can sit in that answer right beside a firm with 50 lawyers. That should feel like an opportunity, not a threat, right? Because it really is an opportunity. So what actually gets you in there? And here's the funny thing. It's everything that we've already talked about today. And I didn't plan the episode this way and then bolt this on. This is actually the episode. 1, say the same thing everywhere. This is the one nobody realizes they're failing. Go look at yourself right now. Your website says you're a family mediator. Your LinkedIn says you're a conflict resolution professional. The bio in that conference says dispute resolution specialist. You think you're being varied, sounding fresh? What's actually happening is a machine is trying to work out there, finding out who you are, and it's finding 3 different people. So it doesn't name any of them. Does that make sense? So being inconsistent doesn't make you interesting. It actually makes you unresolvable. And unresolvable people don't get recommended. 2, answer real questions in plain language, not our approach to family dispute resolution. The actual question somebody would type. Do we have to agree to mediation? How much does this cost? What if he won't talk to me? Answer those questions straight in the first sentence like a human being. That's what gets found in AI, because that's what's getting picked up. Clear answers get quoted. Very vague answers, they get skipped. Okay, 3, someone else has to say your name. You saying that you're good is worth a little bit, but not very much. You need to exist somewhere that isn't yours. So what do I mean? Maybe you are a guest on a podcast that's not yours. Maybe you're an article that someone quotes you in. Maybe you're in a directory that's not yours. A quote in someone else's piece. It's being findable in other people's sources online. I hope that makes sense. So you need to be findable in other people's sentences, if you will. That's another way to say it. Now, go back and look at what those 3 things actually are. Say the same thing everywhere. That's question 7. That's your niche, right? Answer questions plainly. That's question 6. That's the sentence somebody can carry. So having other people name you, that's question 4 and 5. That's your referral network. That's the thing I want you to walk away with today. This isn't a skill. It's not some technical thing that you have to go learn. It's the same clarity being read by a new reader. And so everything that makes you referable to a human being is now the same thing that makes you findable by a machine. All right. Hope that's making sense. So if you go in and ask AI, who is the best divorce mediator in your city? The answer might be thin, it could be vague, and those slots are open. Almost nobody in this profession has claimed one. And so the reality is that won't be true in 2 years. So the sooner you get to this, the better. There's a window, it's open right now, and I'd really wish it to be you. So those are the 10 questions. If you're listening for a trick or a hack or one platform that you're supposed to be on, I'm so sorry there isn't one, because every single answer today was some version of the same thing. So be clear about who you help, be useful before you're needed, and be findable when they come looking. Thanks for tuning in today. And if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss a future episode packed with actionable strategies. See you soon.